So Labron, to me, was an iconic figure just in Oklahoma, certainly in college golf, as a club pro. I mean, he had so many areas where he was iconic. And but he was also a good player, and most people don't know that. He was a really good player. Mike Holder once told me that he played Labron like 2 or 3 times a week for in a match, and he didn't beat him until his senior year. How did you fare in matches against Labron?
Well, first of all, I really like Labron. When I got there as a sophomore, and to be honest with you, I'd grown up my whole life playing for $5 or $2 or whatever the heck the game was out there at Mac Park. And Labron was a pretty good player, but he'd gotten a little older, and the arthritis had gotten to him. And by the time I left Oklahoma State, you could never find Labron when it rained. But if it was hard and windy and dry, he was there on the first tee ready to go. Because he didn't carry it very far, and he'd roll it down there a pretty good ways. But, he used to put up a quarter, and he'd put up a golf ball. And that's what you played for. And, I don't remember all the matches, but I'm going to guess that I probably beat Labron most of the time. And, I was a little more competitive. Unfortunately, that is one of my not so good character traits, is that I was just too competitive. If we were playing for nothing, I wanted to win. If it was whatever that game is where you give clues and you try to guess the words and stuff, if I didn't win at that, I got upset. So, but anyway, I played as hard when I played Labron for that golf ball as if I was playing in the finals of the Kansas Amateur.
Well, it's funny you should say that. Mike probably didn't start his career as good a player as you were when you started your career at Oklahoma State. So it probably took him a little longer to figure out how to beat Labron. But you're right. He told the same story. If it was wet, the ground was wet, and you couldn't get roll, he would by no means be on that first tee because he knew he couldn't hang with you guys that hit it further. Describe him as a coach. Like, what were his best qualities? And is there anything in particular you can remember that Labron taught you as your college coach?
Well, I know Labor was serious about the game, and fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, I was closer to how Labron was than most of the guys, and I was out there. I hit more balls than Labron did, and I practiced longer than anybody else. And if I was 5 over with 3 to play, I wasn't mailing it in. So I didn't ever have many problems with Labor. And, he and I saw eye to eye. And by the time I got to Stillwater, he pretty much, when we teed off, followed the other guys and let me be. Because he knew that I was going to figure out if I got in trouble, which I did. I mean, I hit the ball in the rough more often than I'd like to admit. And, but he knew I knew the rules, and he knew that I would shoot the best score I could shoot. So Labron and I didn't have many problems, except when he was trying to talk somebody out of the price of a motel room.
Well, good thing you mentioned that, because you can't speak about Labron Harris unless you talk about his amazing penchant for frugality. He literally pinched a penny better than anybody ever. Talk to me give me your favorite Labron story.
Well, I got a couple, and I can remember going to the NCAA down there in Stillwater, and I don't remember exactly what kind of shirts and clothing we wore, but it wasn't Ralph Lauren. And it was probably off the back of a used truck. And I remember we got to Las Cruces, and Coach had some orange shirts, and they were, I promise you, an inch thick. They were so hot and so uncomfortable. I'm not sure Jack could have shot even far. But anyway, he gave them to us, and we played the first practice round in them, and the guys came to me and said, Grier, you're the only one coach listens to. Go and talk to him. And so I went to coach and said, hey, coach, you know, if you want to do any good here at the NCAA, we got to be able to wear our other shirts. That shirt we wore today, those are so bad, coach. Some of us are going to pass out there. We got so hot. And he thought about it. And the next day, those shirts were gone. And I ended up winning, and the team ended up finishing third. So I think he would agree that he'd done the right thing. And my best story about Labron, and there's 1,000 of them, was that Coach and I both like to get into the vending machines, something to drink, the pop and the Snickers and the paydays and all that kind of stuff. And there's that little room off to the side out there at Lakeside. And we bet a dozen balls, which one of us would catch the other one in one of those machines. And Coach used to call that stuff pokey bait. And so we had a bet. We bet the dozen balls, and went on for about a month or a month and a half. It's the wintertime. And Roy Bays, if you remember, was the head pro out there. Roy and I were good friends. And he told me, he said, in Stillwater, I had a class at 8:30 every morning. I went at 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, and 11:30 I was Mr. Swiss getting a hamburger and fries and something to drink, and then I was out at the golf course by noon. And one day, one of the 10:30 class canceled, so I was going to get out there early. And Roy had told me Coach had been coming out early and getting in the machines before I got there. And so I stopped early at Mr. Swiss and got me a hamburger, and I got out there and I parked down there. I think there was a bar across from 12 Green down there on the southwest corner of the golf, down by 12 Green. So I parked my car there and walked up through the golf course. And I came in. I said, Roy, Coach here yet? And he said, oh, no. He said, but he's due any minute. So I went into the room, and there was a great big trash can in the room next to the pop machine. And I got in the trash can, pulled the lid over on the top, and just sat in there and waited for him. And I heard him come in about, 5-10 minutes later. It seemed like 30, and it didn't smell very good, and it was hot, even though it was wintertime. And I heard Coach said, Roy, anybody been in here yet? No, Coach, nobody's here. And I heard that door open, and I barely could keep from laughing. He came in there, and I heard those quarters go down that pop machine, and I heard that pop hit the bottom, and I jumped out of that. And I swear to God, I thought he was going to have a heart attack. He turned absolutely livid white. And then he went into the pro shop and got a dozen balls and threw them at me. And I remember they hit the wall, the top to the box came off, the balls came out of the little 3-packs, they were bouncing everywhere. So that was my coach story.